Hey everybody, John Oden here. I have a new series I'm starting called Teaching Old Dogs New Tricks. And what that means is basically masters athletes, giving them some simple tools to fast track their progress, because we all probably know masters athletes are gonna have less potential repetitions in them, less training ability to put in the work kind of thing, and a little bit slower recovery, things like that. So I wanna give people that fine tuning kind of stuff that can really fast track their reps and basically learn from my mistakes over the years, and just things I've found effective for potentially non-thrower athletes getting into this sport kind of thing. So a couple props I'm going to use here. First of all, with my weight for distance simulation, what I want to talk about in overall here is the theme is the head control. So head control also to me means eyes. So where are my eyes going during the throw? That can be hard to see from a coaching perspective or on video, but it's definitely something you feel, and neurologically that is the heart of things, the eye control, head control, and then I also group that with breath, everything in the upper body. So you see any athlete really in any sport, especially again as we refer to Highland games, that's holding their breath, balled up, maybe they're throwing weight for distance, or even worse on hammer, they're making this face and they just look really uncomfortable, versus on the other side of things, seeing a very think of an Olympic athlete, or a really good thrower with the hammer, they're gonna move really smooth and you don't see anything force. The head and eyes just go to an area that really puts them in a good position, puts everything else down the chain. So, if I were to look down and technically, neurologically, I'm firing up the front half of my body. If I look up, I'm firing the back half. If I look to the left, everything's gonna wanna go, look before you leap kind of thing too. If I'm going to turn my head. So without all the complicated science, hopefully you guys can just take my word for this too. This is what's going on internally within the brain. All those signals are going up there. So just trust that this is the process. This is what works. But say I'm doing a turn here with my weight for distance. This is going to be my weight for distance here. And as I'm turning through the air, basically one thing you can think about is even just watching. So potentially staying back a little bit, not moving the head until that weight really comes through as a cue, as a visual. You can push that weight through and then turn your head into it. Just talking to my wife about this, or watching her as a newer thrower and coming from a dance background, she was even telling me the last thing that will move is the head. So if she's spinning in her ballet type of training or whatever, the head is like the last thing that goes, which is the opposite of what we want. We want to hold our position in our weight for distance, for example, here, and then basically we can look at that hand even coming through. We don't want to sit here and stare at our hand, but as that hand passes through my line of vision, that could be my cue to turn my eyes and then my head a little bit too as I'm coming through to make my turn. And then my head's gonna go to a nice neutral position. Again, I'm not gonna bear down and hold my breath. I'm just basically just doing a natural breath. This might be too many things to think about if I'm saying, oh, what should my breath be doing? But I'm just trying to, if anything, breathe out, not let my breath be held. Same thing with the hammer. People often ask about that one. This is gonna be my hammer handle. So if I'm doing my lines over here, I'm actually gonna let my eyes be slightly up and over a little bit. There is a cue that can work, at least in training, to actually watch the head of the hammer. That might make you really dizzy, but that can actually also allow you to really get your head, the last thing we want with our hammer is down in here like this. We want that head and chin, eyes in the corner over here a little bit. So if I was winding over here, I would be basically looking at the camera or slightly up. If I want to fix my gaze, if I want to watch the hammer, you can play around with it, try it for yourself. Some people it works really good for. I've had that cue given to me by a real high level hammer thrower myself, and that can work. I don't sit in games and watch the head of the hammer, but that can help you to find where your head needs to be and make sure that head is moving well. Again, we don't want the head down or excessively up. If anything, we just want to slightly turn our gaze over here. Same thing with breath. If anything, breath out on the way down, that's reflexively how things would be, how biomechanically that would match our breathing pattern. On the way down, the breath would come up. Again, don't overthink that, but if I can relax the breath, get a little breath out between my winds. On the last wind or in any finish position, I am gonna make a scrunchy face. I'm gonna pull away a little bit. But that, basically, that juice is worth the squeeze at the very end, as long as I don't pull in here and tighten up everything. This is gonna put me at risk if my head and neck get all scrunched up all the time. This is gonna put my neck at risk for injuries. Blood pressure goes up, my chance of a stroke goes up slightly even. So there's a lot of negatives to that, but a little bit of that tension is gonna happen at the very end, but I'm still trying to minimize that. Of course, doing that with a 56-pound weight in my hand, or for us as masters, 42-pound weight, it's gonna be kind of on a dimmer sliding scale, dimmer switch type of scale. It shouldn't look like 10 out of 10. That I should look like I'm gonna have a stroke, or maybe that I already did have a stroke, but it will look like I did a little bit of work. But the rest of the time, and when as much as possible, you should look relaxed. Imagine like somebody's taking your picture. Don't force that to look completely la-di-da-di relaxed. I want to look like I'm assertive and athletic, but all that does matter. Again, the eyes first, the head control, and the breath. Same thing with the stones quick. If I'm gonna go and do an open stone here, as I'm coming into this, I want my chin up here as I'm rotating through my open stone. I don't want my head, and you'll see this with inexperienced throwers especially. They'll go here and they'll look down at the feet, right? Same thing with weight for distance. You'll see people looking at their feet. That just means they're not comfortable enough yet. They have bad habits. All those things are contributing. So keep that head up, eyes up, find a visual if you need to, if that helps you. Like for my stone, it might be to look forward a little bit longer. So if I'm looking forward longer, this allows my feet to get through and separate my position. So finding the right cue at the right time. So if I'm here, into my stone, I lead with that head up. That's something I recently didn't realize I was doing with my open stone, is really dropping my head into the center, and everything gets thrown off. The shoulders get all thrown off within my turns. If I look down and dive into my throw, everything gets thrown off axis. And I'm basically trying to fire this cannon out of the canoe. Everything's just rocking the boat from the top down. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully that's not too confusing, but again, just remembering at least to be aware of that and realizing how any really good athlete has control of the top here with the breath, the eyes and head. All those positions do matter, and that's what's gonna make it look and feel really good. It's a nice fast track way to make your throws better, decrease your risk of injury, and just make everything stay connected and a good base to start and end really with your throws. When something is a little bit off and you're beating your head against the ground, save that energy. Don't take a lot of bad throws, bad habits. We just don't have time. We're masters athletes, we're on borrowed time a little bit as athletes potentially too. So keep that in mind. I hope that helps, guys.